During the 10th century, the Mediterranean echoed with a single formidable sound across its gray waves, the thunderous march of Fatimid soldiers treading upon massive warships armed with destruction. Cairo was no mere capital but a gargantuan arsenal that never slept, exhaling smoke from burning nails and boiling pitch while forging new wooden legends within the ancient Nile. The Fatimid fire ships roamed the deep waters, stretching 120 cubits long, laden with iron catapults and volatile Arabian naphtha beneath gold-inscribed banners of absolute maritime sovereignty. The Fatimid Caliph stood within his palace overlooking a vast political ocean, instinctively realizing that he who commands the sea controls the world's arteries, merchants, pilgrims, and vast armies. Arsenals of Fustat and Alexandria labored together like a twin beating heart, pumping iron blood into the veins of a maritime match throughout the 10th century's civilized human world. Neither the Byzantines nor Italians in Venice or Genoa could fathom the scale of the aquatic leviathan raised within the Nile, emerging to demand absolute Mediterranean naval dominance today. The Fatimid vessel known as the Shini carried over 100 heavily armed warriors in its bowels, alongside burning oil reservoirs and massive bows mounted upon towering wooden forts. Scents of burning pitch, sea salt, and the sweat of Egyptian sailors filled the Alexandrian harbors every dawn as they prepared invincible armadas for battles of destiny and power. Nowhere else did a fleet exist comprising over 500 naval units, ranging from massive fire ships to swift cruisers striking like falcons, except as formidable and legendary Fatimid Armada. Maritime schools and Egyptian outposts taught the sons of the Nile and sailors of the Levant celestial navigation, weather patterns, current monitoring, and the geometry of the constellations. Thus was Egypt during the Fatimid era not merely queen of the land but sovereign of the sea, extending iron arms to seize every strait and every strategic gulf. When a Fatimid fleet sailed from the great harbor in Alexandria, the sky above seemed narrower due to massive white sails blocking the horizon and proclaiming the state's majesty. No monarch of that age, whether in Byzantium, New Rome, or the Chinese Empire, could deny that Fatimid Egypt possessed a naval force signaling certain doom and total hegemony. The collective memory of enemy sailors held terrifying images of encountering the Fatimid fleet, ships like floating fortresses with fire descending like lightning, and men who never knew retreat. This is the iron legacy we recount today. The saga of the Fatimid fleet that made Egypt mistress of the seas and guardian of maritime law for 2 centuries. The Fatimid industrial house in Fustat in Alexandria was a massive manufacturing camp where engineers, carpenters, blacksmiths, and tar workers labored relentlessly to construct the vanguard of naval supremacy. Timber was harvested from Lebanon, Sicily, Anatolia, and the Balkan Mountains, then sawn, dried, and treated with protective oils to become hulls capable of withstanding the fierce Mediterranean winters. Building a Fatimid warship was not merely a craft but an authentic science inherited by coastal Egyptian families through generations of experience, blood, and knowledge stored in human archives. The Shini, the largest Fatimid ship, equaled a mobile fortress in its striking power, featuring armed wooden towers where archers and engineers overlooked the chaotic theater of maritime warfare. The fire ship was the ultimate weapon of terror, a fast and robust vessel bristling with naphtha launching machines that turned the sea's surface into a hell-consuming enemy fleets. The cruiser, with its swiftness and lightning speed, resembled unsheathed Mediterranean swords rushing through enemy formations like a leopard amidst a flock, sowing confusion and turning order into chaos. The supreme commander of the Fatimid fleet, historically titled the Prince of the Sea, was a man who calculated every wave, mastery over stars, winds, tides, and celestial navigation. Fatimid maritime strategy rested on 3 pillars, dominating the Eastern Mediterranean, securing Islamic trade routes, and intimidating any soul daring to challenge this established and formidable iron naval legacy. During the reign of Caliph al-Mu'izz and his successors, no fleet could rival the Fatimid Armada in scale, organization, or the sheer maritime ferocity displayed during real tactical engagements. Alexandria hosted a harbor accommodating hundreds of ships simultaneously, surrounded by fortified guard towers and batteries of catapults aimed toward the infinite horizon of the deep and blue sea. The Fatimid logistic network stretched from Mahdia in Tunisia to the northern ports of the Levant, a web of secondary shipyards, naval warehouses, and strategic centers for constant supply. Fatimid naval success was never born of chance or mere luck, but resulted from decades of meticulous planning and generous spending on human, material, and specialized cognitive maritime resources. Revenues from massive maritime trade passing through Fatimid ports were immediately reinvested into expanding the fleet, modernizing weaponry, and training new generations of skilled and disciplined naval cadres. Fatimid Egypt understood that the sea was no obstacle but the royal road to power, and that the nation controlling the Mediterranean controlled the pulse of all human civilization. Military spirit within the Fatimid fleet was derived from iron discipline and a firm belief that the sea was a sacred trust to be protected with every blood drop. Fatimid technical secrets in shipbuilding were guarded by strict rules, no different in severity from state secrets in the military and political fields, ensuring their technological edge remained unrivaled. The Eastern Mediterranean at the 10th century's end resembled a giant chessboard where three great powers clashed: the Byzantines to the north, Fatimids south, and Hamdanid remnants in the east. The Grand Fatimid plan aimed to transform the Eastern Mediterranean into a pure Fatimid internal lake, protected by invincible armadas and coastal bases distributed like interconnected and impenetrable shields. Every Fatimid coastal city from Acre to Antioch sheltered a reserve naval force ready for reinforcement or surprise strikes, operating in perfect coordination with the maritime commanders in Cairo. When the Byzantines peered from behind the Taurus Mountains to threaten Fatimid coastal interests, Cairo's answer was always ready as a fleet gliding from Alexandria like shadows through night. Fatimid naval battles against Byzantine remnants along the Levantine coast proved night after night the tactical and technical superiority of the armada crafted by the skilled sons of the Nile. Fatimid fire ships, when igniting naphtha hurled at enemy vessels, transformed the Mediterranean night into an artificial dawn, as if the sun itself had joined the side of sovereign Cairo. The Fatimid fleet maintained control over the Eastern Mediterranean because it represented not just military force, but the arm of a wealthy economic empire capable of rebuilding lost ships. Trade between East and West, from Indian goods to Eastern spices and Chinese silk, passed entirely under the Fatimid fleet's watchful eyes, which imposed taxes and tributes as master. Byzantines realized that every attempt to challenge Fatimid maritime hegemony would cost them a heavy price exceeding their capacity to endure during that critical and highly volatile historical stage. The Fatimid fleet tightened its grip on shipping lanes between Cyprus, Crete, and Sicily, the golden artery through which the wealth of the ancient Mediterranean world flowed with abundance. Mahdia in Tunisia represented the great western base for the Fatimid fleet, a city built by al-Muizz on high ground overlooking the vast sea from three strategic directions. Field maneuvers of the Fatimid fleet at sea were as complex and precise as land army maneuvers, featuring wings, a center, a rear, and specific offensive and defensive formations. Fatimid fleet strength also lay in extreme flexibility, capable of fighting coastal sieges, open naval battles, or amphibious landing operations with the same level of efficiency, expertise, and precision. No other medieval fleet could combine the offensive speed of cruisers, the destructive firepower of fire ships, and the resilience of mobile wooden fortresses known as the Shini simultaneously. Fatimid control over the sea translated directly into economic dominance, making Cairo a center of civilizational gravity, attracting Islamic pilgrims, merchants, scholars, and foreign ambassadors from the world. Fatimid maritime memory accumulated through every battle, adding a tactical lesson that corrected previous errors and deepened the field understanding of the nature of complex and high-stakes warfare. When the Fatimid prince ordered an attack, he moved multiple arms simultaneously. The Shini blocked escape routes, cruisers paralyzed enemy movement, and fireships ignited terror while destroying capabilities. The philosophy of Fatimid naval warfare was based on destroying the enemy's will before destroying their ships, for whoever loses their will at sea drowns before water swallows. Fatimid geographic atlases represented the mind of the naval institution, documents detailing every gulf, every tide, and every rock in the entire Mediterranean Sea from the east to west. Fatimid grip on the eastern Mediterranean was a solid reality at its peak, unchallenged except by the reckless who ignored power balances or the fevered who underestimated naphtha flames. A Fatimid warship was not born in a single day, but grew slowly and steadily within shipyards like a child in the womb, step by step toward glorious completion. When Lebanese cedar planks were mounted on Fatimid hulls, they were transformed by copper nails and boiling pitch into a wooden shield, enduring storm waves and heavy catapult strikes. Massive Fatimid sails were crafted from the strongest Egyptian linen, dyed in colors announcing identity from miles away, green for royal vessels and black for lethal night strike naval units. High wooden combat towers upon the Shini allowed archers and engineers to fire from elevated positions, granting them a significant advantage in every battle the mighty fleet ever fought. The Fatimid fireship's rowing system was managed by rows of disciplined oarsmen, capable of propelling the vessel with amazing speed even in the absence of wind or narrow passages. Fatimid Naphtha launching platforms, copper pipes angled to fire burning liquid with pressure, terrified every wooden fleet encountering them in shallow waters, turning the tide of war into destruction. Fatimid naval catapults were modified specifically for operation over moving waves, mounted on special platforms that absorbed ship motion while keeping the firing line straight, accurate, and consistently lethal. The decks of Fatimid ships carried ammunition stores organized so carefully that a warrior could reach his weapon in mere seconds, even during the most intense moments of chaos. Fatimid naval engineering was based on a philosophy combining thermal superiority, long-distance sailing capability, and the ability to perform rapid troop landings upon distant, hostile, and well-fortified shores. Fatimid ships prepared for coastal sieges carried field construction equipment, including planks, ropes, and nails to establish fixed berths and launch heavy equipment upon the conquered shores today. Fatimid sailors trained to exchange roles in combat so a rower could become a warrior and a warrior could manage sails in seconds, ensuring the vessel remained functional. Alexandrian shipyards produced at peak capacity at least 10 warships annually, a figure equaling the entire energy of a nation during that era, demonstrating the state's immense industrial power. Protective coatings on Fatimid ship hulls, a mixture of pitch, oil, and burnt seaweed, prolonged the wood's life, reduced algae growth, and kept the ship faster within water. Celestial navigation was an art passed down through Egyptian maritime families, involving star reading, position calculation, and estimating destination distances with a sharp, experienced, and highly trained eye. These elements combined made the Fatimid fleet an integrated machine of naval warfare without equal during the 10th and 11th centuries upon the face of this vast ancient earth. The prestige of the Fatimid fleet was itself a strategic weapon, as some fleets retreated before confrontation upon learning they faced a force that neither shows mercy nor forgiveness. The great challenge for the Fatimid fleet began when the Crusaders appeared from the west, setting foot on Levantine shores at the 11th century's end, closing the Golden Era. During Caliph al-Mustansir's reign, the Fatimid fleet suffered initial signs of internal decline, a crushing famine, conflicts between ministers and soldiers exhausted by hunger and severe lack of pay. The Mustansirite crisis, spanning long decades, eroded the Fatimid power's backbone and washed away many resources intended for shipbuilding and the maintenance of the once mighty and dominant naval armada. Italian fleets from Venice, Genoa, and Pisa gradually infiltrated the Mediterranean, exploiting Cairo's moments of weakness to impose their new commercial presence and formidable military presence upon the waves. When Crusaders reached the Levantine shores in 1090, 1499, the Fatimid fleet found itself facing unprecedented pressure, challenging it from an angle where it had historically enjoyed absolute hegemony. Levantine coastal cities, Sidon, Acre, Caesarea, and Tyre fell one after another before Crusader waves receiving continuous, vital, and sophisticated Italian naval logistical support that could not be broken. The Fatimid fleet attempted to reclaim Acre from Crusaders in 1100 through a landing and coastal siege, but the historical tide had already begun changing its direction forever. Successive strikes from within and without weakened the administrative structure holding the fleet together, leading to dwindling ship numbers, declining training standards, and a broken, fragmented chain of command. Crusaders utilized sailors from Genoa and Venice who possessed advanced and renewed maritime experience, closing the technical gap that had long favored the dominant and historically superior Fatimid fleet. The Fatimid fleet's final attempts to restore its maritime glory resembled the flickering of a dying lamp, bright flashes that were insufficient to conquer the darkness thickening from everywhere. The true crisis lay in the Fatimid state losing the political will required to provision its fleet while struggling with internal disintegration and the incompetence of its successive, failing leaderships. The last Fatimid sails appeared on the Mediterranean horizon like a ghost bidding farewell to a golden era before Saladin arrived to officially end the Fatimid state in 564. The treasures of Alexandria's great shipyards were scattered, looted, and passed into the hands of rising powers like a palace collapsed with its stones distributed among the buildings today. The Fatimid fleet's defeat was not a purely military failure, but a political and economic defeat originating within the state structure before announcing itself upon the surface of water. The lessons of Fatimid naval collapse were a great warning to every empire neglecting its military institutions during prosperity. For a fleet is not built during war, but peace. The Fatimid fleet's banner vanished from Mediterranean waves, yet its echo never faded from history's pages, or the minds of historians seeking seeds of maritime hegemony within Islamic civilization. The Fatimids' day proved to the medieval world that naval power was not a European privilege, but a human heritage shared by those possessing the mind, will, resources, and organization. The Fatimid experience in constructing shipyards, manufacturing vessels, training sailors, and managing naval warfare was a historical reference from which Ayyubid and Mamluk successors would eventually draw great wisdom. Egypt's sailors carried the Fatimid civilizational impact in their collective consciousness, so it was no surprise that Saladin built his fleet using cadres, still remembering the authentic Fatimid craft. Documents from Alexandria's House of Industry, reaching us through travelers and geographers, confirm that what the Fatimids built was an engineering miracle deserving mention in every book or navigation. The Fatimid fleet's philosophy, based on integrating military power, economic strength, and logistical depth, remains a contemporary lesson for anyone thinking of building a modern and formidable sovereign force. Cairo, in its golden Fatimid era, proved the caliphate was not just the seat of jurisprudence and art, but a strategic center, planning for maritime sovereignty that accepts no compromise. The Fatimid naval legacy was a golden link in a long chain of Islamic maritime power stretching from Muawiyah's fleet at dawn to Kheireddin Barbarossa at the Middle Ages' end. Fatimids were not merely a passing phase in maritime history, but a peak, where Eastern Islamic naval power reached its maximum limits of expansion, strength, and sophisticated institutional organization. The true lessons provided by Fatimid fleet history are three. Power is built during security, erodes through division and hunger, and is reborn when the firm will is resurrected. The Mediterranean Sea was the best witness to a solid truth repeated by great civilizations. He who owns the sea owns time, and he who abandons it becomes prisoner. Egypt, in its Fatimid era, with its giant fleet, great shipyards, trained sailors, and creative strategic minds, wrote upon the Mediterranean's page with iron and fire an eternal truth. Egypt was never a prisoner of the desert, but was always, and shall remain forever, the sovereign mistress of the two seas, guarding the crossroads of the entire world.